The UK is committed to avoiding a re-implementation of a hard border with checkpoints between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, which all sides regard as being vital to upholding the 1998 Good Friday Agreement. Speaking to the press in Dublin prior to a meeting with Irish Foreign Minister Simon Coveney, Mr. Ladrian said, "What we want is for things to go quickly and a June deadline chosen as the final deadline, otherwise the withdrawal agreement will be more complicated." The June deadline is the deadline that must be seen as the ultimate deadline. Despite Brexit Secretary David Davis previously describing the EU's demand for sufficient progress to be made on the issue by June as an artificial deadline, Mr. Ladrian said the issue could not be delayed. Mr. Coveney suggested that a customs partnership between the EU and Britain could solve the issue surrounding the Northern Irish border. Getty Genevieve Ladrian, R., has said that the UK must finalise the Irish border issue in June. What we want is for things to go quickly and a June deadline chosen as the final deadline, otherwise the withdrawal agreement will be more complicated. Genevieve Ladrian, he noted that the Irish government was flexible on how Theresa May resolved the issue, but insisted they would not accept any arrangement that could lead to the re-implementation of a hard border. Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson commented on the customs partnership option, saying, "If you have the new customs partnership, you have a crazy system whereby you end up collecting the tariffs on behalf of the EU at the UK frontier. If the EU decides to impose punitive tariffs on something the UK wants to bring in cheaply, there's nothing you can do." Getty Theresa May said that any customs agreements must create as little friction as possible for trade. Henry Newman, the director of think tank Open Europe, also criticized the option, saying, "Customs partnership could entail the UK paying very large sums of money to the EU in the long term, something the government has so far ruled out." Commenting on the deadlock in cabinet surrounding the UK's future customs arrangement with the EU, Mrs. May said she had proposed various options and that the government would continue to work on them during the upcoming negotiations. Writing in the Sunday Times, she said, "Any agreements must create as little friction as possible for trade. We must not constrain our ability to negotiate trade agreements with other countries around the world by being bound into a customs union." She noted the final deal must protect the UK's constitutional and economic integrity and honour Northern Ireland's peace agreement. This comes after DUP leader Arlene Foster said her party would not accept any Brexit outcome which could lead to regulatory divergence between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK. However, pro-Brexit ministers, including Michael Gove, prefer the maximum facilitation option, which would involve using technology and a trusted fader plan to reduce post-Brexit customs checks by monitoring the border and goods passing through it. Critics have nevertheless argued the implementation of this system and the development of the necessary technology would take too long and would run the risk of re-implementing a certain degree of border friction. If the UK is unable to finalise its customs arrangement prior to the Brexit deadline in March 2019, the UK may then be obliged to follow the EU's Irish border backstop option. This would force Northern Ireland to remain in full alignment with the EU and follow the regulations of the customs union and single market in order to avoid the re-implementation of a hard border.